Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 21st of March and I welcome you all to Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. In this session, we'll take entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We'll cover all the articles strictly keeping in mind UPSC requirements, and the articles will be broken as context, main body and way forward, the format in which you need to write answer in your examination. Also, I would like to tell you that you can download the synoptic notes of this particular session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. So there you can go and you can download these particular synoptic notes. Now, before going in the today's analysis, let's first of all see brief overview of today's newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are relevant in today's newspaper. So let's see a brief overview. So here we have a Delhi edition of a Hindu newspaper, and first article that we have here: in Supreme Court, Centre defends appointment of new election commissioners ahead of Lok Sabha polls. Now, this particular development, guys, we have seen over last few days. We have seen this particular thing, that what happened. Government recently notified Chief Election Commissioner and other Election Commissioners Act 2023, and in this particular body, in this particular law, there was a 3-member body that was constituted, having Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and the Cabinet Minister, who are going to appoint the election commissioners and chief election commissioners. However, this went against the Supreme Court judgment given in the Anup Barnwal case, in which Supreme Court said that this body should rather consist Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India. Okay, but rather than Chief Justice of India, there was a Cabinet Minister that was brought. So in a way, what happened, ruling government executive got bigger role in appointment of election commissioner and chief election commissioner. People have reached the Supreme Court, and in Supreme Court, Center is now defending that we did not had any malintention. We have just done it to ensure that elections are held in the stipulated schedule. So this is something that has happened, and every day this development comes here. Beyond this, guys, nothing much development has happened here, and I will not advise you to track it every day for your exam. Supreme Court grants bail to ED officer. Fine. Then Union Minister booked for promoting enmity, take action on DMK plant, EC. Nothing much relevant has been given in this particular action. Center seeks report from Punjab government on IVF availed by Moosewala's mother. So guys, this article we are going to see in context of GS paper number 4 ethics as well as GS paper number 2 social justice, ART law. We are going to see this particular article. Then moving on, in city section, we have largely here the regional political issues that are there. However, guys, for examination, nothing much relevant has been given in this particular direction. So we will be moving on, and we reach here to editorial page. Now in editorial, we have this article: India's voter deserve a bond of probity. Now, basically, guys, this article, it is again continuing on the line of, that electoral bond scheme, which was recently held invalid by Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has asked State Bank of India to share the data with respect to electoral bonds with Election Commission, and Election Commission will publicize this particular data in public domain. Now, guys, understand this thing. There are so many articles that we have seen also, fine, but I will not advise you every day to go in this particular line. Fine, just you need to understand this particular context as what electoral bonds were, why they have been held as invalid, just that. Now, moving on, after that, here we have this article: eliminating disease one region at a time. So this article talks about the elimination versus eradication of disease, which is an important dimension for health related issues. We'll take this article. The lure of liquor, so IPL, it is becoming more popular. Data marketplaces, the next frontier. We'll see this particular article for exam. BJP is dwindling popularity in AP, not important article for examination. Then further, text and context on the mass kidnappings in Nigeria. Okay, so basically the mass abductions have happened in Nigeria, what they want, fine, upsurge in kidnappings, etc. are being discussed. Why has Karnataka banned certain coloring agents? We'll take this particular article because recently this ruling has been given by Karnataka. So we'll take this particular article. Then further moving on, the slow and steady rise of mixed reality technology. So guys, if you're following, recently what happened, Apple Vision Pro was released, which is a $3,500 headset or this particular gear. Now this particular gear, it is based on the concept of mixed reality. Now what is mixed reality? Mixed reality combines the basically, if you wear these glasses, you can see the things that are happening in the real world, but at the same time you can also do the computing, you can also immerse in computing. Fine, you can watch movies or something like that, whatever you want to do. So this mixed reality. Now guys, understand this thing. What is augmented reality? Augmented reality is that on the real world there will be some extra information that will be superimposed. Okay, for example, I wear a glasses which have augmented reality capability. For example, I'm going on the street, I will see the normal view, but it will have a superimposed information also. Okay, fine. So that is the augmented reality. Now what is mixed reality? Mixed reality combines the virtual reality, it combines the it combines the it also have the um, uh, it also shows you the things as they really are. Now this particular article, what it is showing, it is talking about the evolution of this particular technology. That first headset was brought in 1960s, then all this development is going on. I have went through this entire article, but for our science and technology much dimension has not been given in this particular article. Then PM speaks to Putin. Zelenskyy calls for dialogue, diplomacy to end war. We'll take this particular article for examination. Don't use counselling to turn LGBT person against their identity. We'll take this particular article also for examination. Then further moving, Modi government nurtured a billionaire Raj. Fine. Largely political articles are there, so no need to go too much in detail in this particular direction. Here we have one article, center notifies a fact checking unit to screen online content. We'll take this particular article for examination. CCI Competition Commission of India dismisses plea against Google's new Play Store policy. So basically what this issue guys is all about. So Google has announced a new policy where they will levy 11% to 26% of charge on in-app payment. Suppose you are making any in-app purchase, you are paying 1,000 rupees. So out of that 1,000 rupees, 11 to 26% of fees will be charged by Google. And creators, they are calling it as arbitrary, they are calling it as unjust. They say that Google first created a monopoly by making the Play Store, and now they will charge whatever fees they want. So this is a monopoly. Fine. So this issue is going on. Now Competition Commission of India dismissed the pleas against this Google policy. Okay. So that is all what has happened in this capacity. Then further moving on. Fine, Karnataka election officials to keep a close watch on social media influencers. Okay. Because guys, we have now seen that social media influencers, they hold a big clout, and in this capacity even they can influence the views of the people. Okay. Then further, consumption unequal, not as weak. Okay, then guys, here we have the corporate trends, etc. Okay, and then we have world page. So in world page, IMF to release $1.1 billion from bailout fund to Pakistan. So guys, recently we have seen this particular thing, that Pakistan's economy got severely impacted. Because of this, they have approached the IMF. Now understand this thing, that whenever a country is facing a BOP crisis situation, then what it can do, it can approach IMF, and IMF under its extended fund facility can provide a bailout package. So basically, a staff level agreement has been reached with Pakistan authorities, and a $3 billion of $1.1 billion of bailout fund will be provided to IMF. Okay, so basically out of $3 billion, $1.1 billion will be released. Okay, now moving on, Irish PM Leo Varadkar announces resignation. Fine. Then guys, we have the sports section. Australia hosts China. Finance minister sees stability in China's foreign minister sees stability in relation despite evident tension. So guys, we see this particular thing. Ideologically, Australia and China, they are divided because Australia stays an important partner under the Quad, but China fine is against the Quad, saying that Quad is promoting a kind of an alliance mentality. Fine. So ideological gaps, ideological divides are there between the Australia and China, but still they are trying to overcome that, and Australia has hosted the Chinese foreign minister, and they try to cooperate on the broader issues that the world is now facing. Fine, then sports page we have here. Okay, so this is the overview guys of entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail that are important for our examination. So let's get started with that. Okay, every class we start with a GS quotation, and this quotation can be complemented with your answers. So today we are going to take quotation from Aristotle. So Aristotle says, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Okay, so educating a person in terms of the fact, educating, giving a person a technical knowledge, fine, giving a person an academic knowledge is not an education if you don't educate the heart, if you don't inculcate values, if you don't inculcate morals, if you don't inculcate certain basic aspects of ethics. Fine, if you are not able to bring a change in the heart, fine, so that education is of no use. So educating the mind is useless. Educating the mind along with the education of heart is the real education. You can use this particular idea in the context of GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 4 ethics. So that is all about it. And now let's discuss first article for today. Okay. Center seeks report from Punjab government on IVF availed by Moosewala's mother. So guys, in this context, we only need to see the academic aspect that is there. So let's discuss this particular article purely from academic point of view. Now, basically, famed Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewala, he was killed in 2022. Now, post his death, his parents who are 60 year and 58 year, okay, 60 year, the father was 60 year and mother was 58 year. They conceived a child. Now this particular child was born through ART, assisted reproductive technologies. Now guys, what is assisted reproductive technologies? Assisted reproductive technology, it is a range of methodologies by which a child can be conceived by the people who might be facing some infertility issues. These infertility issues might be because of the age, or infertility issues could be because of many other factors. So usually what is done in ART, many things are there, but most famous route under ART is IVF, in vitro fertilization. So basically, what is in vitro fertilization? So there are two types of fertilization: in vivo fertilization, where fertilization of egg and sperm happens in the body, and in vitro fertilization. In vitro fertilization, sperm and egg will be fertilized outside the body in a lab. So basically, what is done? Females eggs could be retrieved and male sperm can be retrieved. Okay, and female egg and male sperm, they will be fertilized in a petri dish in a lab. Now guys, sometimes what happens, sperm might not be potent to fertilize the egg at its own. Fine. So therefore, in order to ensure a precise fertilization, in order to aid the fertilization, eggs and sperm, they are fertilized outside the body in a petri dish. And this fertilized egg, then through this particular fertilized egg then can be placed in the body of a woman, okay, where she will conceive a child and will give birth to a child. Now, when we talk about the ART in India, it is regulated through ART Act. Okay. Now, understand this particular thing. As per the section 21G subclause 1 of ART Act 2021, there is a restriction of an age limit. Okay, and it has been provided that any woman, if she wants to use the ART route, she should be within the age of 21 to 50 years. So 50 years is the upper age limit. But in this particular case, we find that the woman, okay, she was 58 years old. So we find this particular thing that the mother of the singer Sidhu Moosewala, she was 58 year old, okay, and the father was 60 year old. Fine. So basically, the age limit is 21 to 50. So she is 58 years old. So it has been said that this thing goes in violation of the ART Act. How permission was given, why permission was given. So these basic documents have been asked by the Ministry of Health from the Punjab government. This is something that has happened. Now this particular thing has started a debate. It has sparked a debate as whether the age limit should be implemented in such cases. Now this is not an this is a special case. This is a unique situation where we find this particular thing, that the old parents, their only son was killed and they did not had any here, they did not had any here. So in this situation, this is extraordinary situation. So should there be exception in such kind of a situations, or there should not be any exception? So this particular debate has been sparked. It has been provided that today people are living longer, the life expectancy has increased, and even today there are the good medical facilities by which the safe ART can be taken. So why we are still sticking on this particular age of 50? Now, when we talk about biologically, we find this thing 25 to 35 years of age. It is the best time to conceive a child. And post that there are a lot of complications that can emerge. And 50 years is a reasonable age limit before which any type of pregnancy could be carried. But here we find that the woman was 58 years old. Also, it has been provided that the aging brings a lot of ailments. For example, blood pressure issues develop, diabetes, heart diseases, and basically these kind of diseases or these kind of medical conditions in the parents can impact the health of a child. Also, it has been provided that when the parents are in the age of 60-65 year old, fine, will they be there to take care of the child during his childhood till the time he turns adult? They might not have that much time to spend with their child because of their advanced age. So it has been provided that ART or any pregnancy etc. should not be allowed beyond a particular age, and that age we have fixed at 50 under ART. Now this debate is medical as well as ethical. Now when we talk about, guys, basically one more dimension comes here, is that if women, it has been provided that we should not restrict this particular right, because the right of parenthood, it is something which should not be from which a person should not be deprived. Also, it hampers the reproductive autonomy of the women. Also, it has been provided that if women wishes to avail the ART beyond a particular age, we should also consider a methodology, we should consider a process. For example, there should be a detailed medical examination, physical examination, verification of good mental health should be done, and if the woman is meeting the criteria of physical health, mental health, then she should be allowed to give birth to a child. Also, couple must have insurance for the unborn child, and should have this particular, there should be a legal arrangement that who will be the guardian of the child in the case the parents die because of the advanced age, and if the parents are not able to take care of the child, who will be the take care. So such a legal arrangement should be there, insurance should be there, legal mechanism should be there, physical, financial, mental assessment should be there, and then they should be allowed in such situations. So this is something that has come in this particular direction. So multiple dimensions in the context of GS2, GS paper number 4 opens up here. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to next article. Eliminating diseases one region at a time. Now we'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, issues related to health. Now what this particular article is talking about? Article is talking about Guinea worm disease, which is on a brink of eradication. Now guys, when we talk about the Guinea worm disease, what is this? Understand this thing. So Guinea worm disease, it is a parasitic disease. Which is caused by the Guinea worm. And this particular disease, it largely basically this particular disease is infested when people drink contaminated water. Water which has been stagnated for a long period of time, it might have this Guinea worm in the water. So Guinea worm might be present in the water that has been contaminated, that has been stagnated for a long period of time, and when people consume it, they develop this guinea worm disease. Now what it leads to? It leads to skin lesions. It leads to skin lesions, and these skin lesions, they primarily affect the legs and the feet, and they are very painful, and it impacts the ability of a person to walk, to do the day-to-day tasks, and it might be there for weeks to months. Okay, and when we talk about this guinea worm disease, there were around 3.5 million cases of the guinea worm disease in 1986, and from 3.5 million the cases have come down to just 13 in 5 countries in 2023, and we are on the brink of eradication of the guinea worm disease. Now understand this particular thing, that if we eradicate the guinea worm disease, it will be the second disease that will be eradicated from the world. First was a smallpox that was eradicated, and after the smallpox, this will be the second. And actually, in the case of guinea worm disease, understand this thing, there was no medicine to treat it, there was no vaccines to avoid it. So irrespective of the fact that medicine is not there, vaccine is not there, we are on the brink of eradicating it, which is a good thing, which is a big achievement. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about eradication and elimination, these are two different things. First of all, what is elimination? Elimination is a zero transmission of a disease in a particular region. For example, let's say in the coming year, there is not even a single case of, let's say there is not even a single case of dengue, okay, in Delhi. That is the elimination. So elimination is a zero transmission within a specific region. But what is eradication? Eradication is a complete wipeout of a disease from the world. So eradication is the global cessation, global wipeout of a disease. Okay, so eradication is something which is desired. Fine. Now, however, before eradication, elimination will happen first. So first will be elimination, and the second is eradication. So elimination is important for eradication. Okay, and how elimination happens? Elimination happens through better health interventions, through better surveillance. Okay, giving more focus on vulnerable sections. Okay, so elimination, it is most important, and it enhances the health system. It especially is helpful to the vulnerable and poor because they face the disproportionate burden of these particular diseases. Okay, now basically elimination, when we talk about it, it is resource intensive. I told you that first of all, what we need to do, we need to make people aware about a particular disease so that they can take the precautionary steps. Okay, first of all, the precaution is most important. Prevention is always better than the cure, and to prevent it, precaution is to be told to the people. So first of all, there is the information, education, communication that is to be done, number one. Number two, we need to ensure that if a vaccine is there against a particular disease, that vaccine should be universally rolled out. Third, we need to ensure that the health facilities are there to treat the people if in case they get infected. So elimination, it is a resource intensive exercise and may overshadow other health priorities. Now understand this thing, we cannot spend so much of resource only on one disease. We have so many of the diseases, so therefore it often happens to be a resource intensive exercise. Okay, now when we talk about the case of India, 40% of the global caseload of lymphatic filariasis, it is there in India. Now lymphatic filariasis, it is also called as the elephantiasis. So basically it is also a parasitic disease which happens due to roundworms. Now what happens in lymphatic filariasis? Basically it leads to soaring of body tissues. It also largely impacts the lower part of the body. So what happens? The tissues, they get swell, and tissues, they get thick. Okay, and this word elephantiasis comes from so basically the leg of a person will look like an elephant's leg. They will become really thick. Why they become thick? Because of the swelling of the tissue. So from there the word elephantiasis comes. Now when we talk about the lymphatic filariasis, which is again a parasitic disease, 40% of the cases are there in India, and World Health Assembly passed a resolution in 1997. World Health Assembly is the highest decision making body under WHO. It made a decision in 1997 that lymphatic filariasis will be eliminated, but up till now it has not happened. Okay, now it is prevalent, however success has happened is there. Its prevalence is limited to a few areas, few states, okay, and can be eliminated if we focus on surveillance, if we give attention on this, now further moving on in this particular direction, guys. So what is way forward, okay. Now number one we need to focus on disease and regions first where the elimination is most feasible. Now suppose a particular disease, it is in three regions, but it is possible to eliminate here in X region first. So first we need to focus on those particular regions, and by eliminating a disease from a particular region, we can learn a lot of valuable lessons which can be implemented in the next phase. Okay, so first of all, phased and localized approach is to be used. Now when we talk about Kala Azar, lymphatic filariasis, they are there in few specific regions, and first we need to identify those regions where it can be easily be eliminated, and learning from the lessons, then mobilizing the resources on other areas should be done. Then multi-sectoral collaboration is needed, and innovation is also needed. Now in multi-sectoral collaboration, we need to collaborate with the government at all the level. We need to enrobe the stakeholders such as civil society, such as NGOs, even the public spirited individuals. They are to be enrobed. And then phased up region by region elimination strategies to be adopted. So this is something that has been provided, and much valuable aspects and learnings have been given here. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to next article. Data marketplaces, the next frontier. Data marketplaces, the next frontier. We'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2 and GS paper number 3, data governance. Data governance, GS2 and GS3, we are going to see this particular article. Just a minute. Now, recently there was a report that was released by NASSCOM. And according to this particular NASSCOM report, data, okay, big data, data architecture and artificial intelligence can add $400 to $500 billion to India's GDP by 2025. So 400 to 500 billion dollar of billion dollars worth can be added to GDP if we leverage the data and if we leverage the artificial intelligence. And if guys India wants to become a $5 trillion economy in the near term, then using AI is something very important. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that today we see this particular thing, that there is a rapid digitization of government services that is happening. Even people, their digital footprint has increased, and because their digital footprint is increasing, what is happening? Huge data is getting generated. Now this particular data is of two types, that is personal data and non-personal data. Now first of all, what is personal data? Personal data is the one which contains the identifier through which a person can be known. For example, my photograph, my name, my date of birth, my telephone number, my Aadhaar card number, all this is my personal data. Then there is the non-personal data also. Now non-personal data does not contain any personal identifier. For example, suppose there is a particular road. What is a traffic on this road in evening 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, how much traffic is there? This is a non-personal data. How much rainfall happens in a particular region in the month of June and July? This is a non-personal data. So data about disasters, data about traffic movement, data about the rainfall pattern, all this is the non-personal data. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about non-personal data, fine, it is obtained by government, fine, and by utilizing this non-personal data, we can frame meaningful policies. Fine, there is a word called as the evidence-based policy making which is based on some data, some evidence. So in evidence-based policy making, this non-personal data can help, fine, and we can come out with the good policies. Now, it can help predict socially and economically sound outcomes. And this non-personal data can be used in meteorological operations, in disaster forecast, infrastructure capacity. For example, we constructed a road, or we are planning to construct a road. Will it be able to serve the people after 15 years? Fine. We can know this thing by predicting that how traffic movement has increased in the last 15 years. Keeping it in mind in next 15 years, what will be the traffic movement, we can predict these particular things. So this is something that is there. Now it has been provided that today when we talk about the non-personal data, we are talking about the benefits of non-personal data, but there is no regulatory regime to regulate the non-personal data in India. So basically understand this thing, that first of all there is a risk of de-anonymization of non-personal data that is there. Now understand this thing, that sometimes personal data is anonymized. Personal data is anonymized, and this personal data is converted as a non-personal data. Let me give you example. Mr. X got infected by ABC disease. Mr. Y gets infected by ABC disease. Okay. Mr. Z got infected by this ABC disease. We say 3 people in a particular area got infected by the ABC disease. Who these 3 people were? These 3 people were Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z. Fine. Mr. X getting infected by this disease, Mr. Y getting infected by this disease. This is a personal data. What you can do? You can remove their personal information and you say 3 people got infected by the ABC disease. Fine. What you have done? You have anonymized this data. You removed the identity that actually who got infected. Simply you are saying that the 3 people got infected by a particular disease. This disease can tomorrow become a big health concern. Okay. So sometimes what we can do, personal data can be anonymized. Okay. But again, there is a risk of de-anonymization of non-personal data. Okay. Today there are such advanced softwares, there is AI, there are so many tools that are there, that even this anonymized data can be de-anonymized. It can be linked with the people. There are some technologies. So this is a risk in using the anonymized non-personal data. So there is a risk of de-anonymization of data. Fine. There is a risk of using non-personal data. There is a risk of using non-personal data in some other ways also, which might not serve the public purpose. So for that we need to have a regulatory system to regulate the non-personal data, but at the same time non-personal data should be shared also for the public purposes. All these things are needed. Now in this capacity, MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, it released the National Data Governance Framework Policy. Fine. But up till now it did not got implemented. And today if we talk about the non-personal data is not effectively regulated in India. So non-personal data is vulnerable and it is also underutilized. We need to focus on data exchange. Also. Now understand what is data exchanges. There are multiple bodies, multiple organizations which is collecting the data. Some data is being collected by Indian Meteorological Department, data is being collected by the state government, data is being collected by the Ministry of Road, Transport and Highways. So data exchange is the seamless exchange of data among us, the different body, and all this data is to be compiled so that that data can be used to make broad patterns. Fine. So data exchange. So the data exchange concept, it can enhance decision making. Fine. But even in the data exchange also, we did not have any robust policy. So we need to focus on bringing the regulatory enhancements. We need to bring in the regulatory bodies. We need to bring the laws which will facilitate in effective data exchange, which will help in ensuring that the non-personal data should only be used for legible purposes. We need to have a blueprint for a data exchange governance. Find data exchange governance. Okay, so this blueprint will learn from the best practices around the world, and we'll see that how the countries around the world are learning from how the countries in the world are using data for effective governance. We need to learn from that. Now understand this thing in the context of Telangana. There is agricultural data exchange that is developed in Telangana, in which the agriculture related data is exchanged within the different organization. We see that countries such as Australia, UK, Estonia, they have also developed data exchange frameworks by which on what principles data will be exchanged in multiple organizations and how that data can be used in governance. They have come out with a detailed policy, but India has not come out with that. So India need to learn from these best practices and need to come out with the data non-personal data governance framework. So this is all about it. Now, moving to next article. Why has Karnataka banned certain coloring agents? Okay, so we'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, issues related to health. Okay, so what has happened, multiple states, earlier Tamil Nadu and Goa were there, but now Karnataka has also joined. So these states have banned harmful coloring agents in certain food products such as cotton candy and gobi Manchurian. Gobi Manchurian. Now you might have enjoyed the cotton candy, which comes in vibrant pink color, yellow color, and many other colors. So how that color comes? That color comes from the coloring agent. In gobi Manchurian also there is a distinct orange color tinge that is there. How it comes? It comes again by using the color. Now these colors are unsafe in nature. Now recently a study was conducted and it was found that 15 out of 25 cotton candy samples and 107 out of 171 gobi Manchurian samples, they contained added colors. Now understand this thing: sunset yellow, tartrazine, rhodamine B. Fine, they were contained in cotton candy. Now, understand this particular thing. In prelims, they have asked these particular questions in the past, that X, Y, Z was recently in news. Why it was in news? So this is a coloring agent. This is a coloring agent, and this coloring agent, it is used in a lot of food products, and here we have seen that it has been used in the cotton candy. So sunset yellow, tartrazine, rhodamine B. Okay, it is used in cotton candy. Tartrazine, sunset yellow, and carmosine, it is used in gobi Manchurian. So keep these things in mind. What they are coloring agents. And when we talk about this rhodamine B, it is carcinogenic. It is linked with cancer. It is linked with the cancer, and other elements also, their usage is highly regulated, but they are still being used. Now, as per the Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006, if there are the stringent penalties, license cancellation, and fine up to 10 lakh rupees, fine, if some banned substance such as these are used. However, this cannot be sufficient. What we need to do? We need to raise awareness among the manufacturers and among the people that they should not consume, manufacturers should not use it, and people should not consume anything which is containing the artificial colors. Okay, this is guys all about it. Now, moving to next article. Center notifies fact checking unit to screen online content. Now, before going in these articles, guys, let's take the mains questions that we have made on the articles that we discussed just now. So, first mains question we'll discuss on eliminating disease one region at a time. This was with respect to the health article that we discussed about elimination and eradication. So, question reads, examine the significance of disease elimination programs and discuss the challenges and strategies for implementing such programs in India. Use examples from the global and national context to support your answer. Data marketplace article that we discussed. Evaluate the role of non-personal data in enhancing governance and economic development in India. Discuss the challenges in regulating the non-personal data and propose measures for creating an effective data exchange framework. And this Karnataka article, where they have banned the coloring substances, discuss the impact of artificial coloring agents on public health and analyze the steps taken by Karnataka to regulate their use in food products. How can such regulatory measure be strengthened and implemented at national level? So guys, you will find that the language that we are using in question, we have tried to use the standards of UPSC, because if you read the UPSC questions, fine, we have tried to follow that as far as possible. Fine, so try writing answers on these. Fine, now moving to other articles. Okay, now moving to the next article. Okay, so what has happened? Central government has notified the fact checking unit. So let's understand this particular article. First, we'll take some background and then we'll go in this particular article. So basically guys, what happened? Under IT rules 2021, under IT rules 2021, government proposed a mechanism to counter fake news. Government proposed a mechanism to counter the fake news, to counter misleading news. Today we find that a lot of misinformation and disinformation is floating on social media platforms, and this information can incite riots, can incite communal tensions, can lead to social disputes. So therefore, we need to control these fake news, okay, misinformation, disinformation that is floating on social media. And IT rules 2021, it empowered, IT rules 2021, what it did, it empowered social media platforms. It empowered, it empowered the union government. It empowered the union government that they can constitute a fact checking unit. This fact checking unit will be an organization. This fact checking unit will be an organization, and this particular organization, it is going to ascertain that. Okay guys, so let's resume back. Okay, so this fact checking unit, this will be a dedicated body which will ascertain and which will flag a news as a fake if it is fake. Now, what happened? Government earlier said that PIB, Press Information Bureau, will be the fact checking unit and will flag the fake information, will be the fact checking unit and will flag the fake information. But what happened? Some activists, they reached the Bombay High Court. They reached the Bombay High Court and said that government is trying to become the sole arbiter of truth. So, fine. Internet Freedom Foundation, they said that this IT rule amendment, which is empowering the fact checking unit, it is trying to become the arbiter of what information. It is becoming the arbiter of truth. Now understand this thing. It was said that any information, which is going against the government, that information will be said as fake, and social media platforms will be forced to remove this particular information. So government is trying to become the sole arbiter of truth, and it was said that PIB should not be allowed to be created as a fact checking unit. Now Bombay High Court, it restricted the government that you should not notify the fact checking unit. But recently what happened? Fine. Recently what happened? Fine. Court declined. Recently, court declined to extend the stay that under which they earlier has prohibited the government to enforce this rules for the fact checking unit. Now government finally has notified PIB, Press Information Bureau, as a fact checking unit. It will declare what is fake news, it will declare what is true news. And if a news is declared as a fake news by PIB, then social media platforms have to take down that particular news or that particular information from their platforms. Otherwise they will lose the legal protection. They will lose the legal liability protection, which is called as safe harbor. Now, what is safe harbor? Understand this particular thing, guys. That there is a lot of information that is there on social media. Suppose there is some post on social media which is communal in nature. You cannot arrest Mark Zuckerberg if that news is on Facebook, because these platforms don't have a control that who is posting what. These platforms are given a protection, they are given immunity, which is called as safe harbor. So if they will not remove the news from their platform which has been flagged as fake, they will lose this safe harbor, they will lose this legal liability protection. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Now last week PIB, it declared an article by Al Jazeera which called CAA as anti-Muslim as fake. Okay, so basically this is something that is happening. Now fact checking unit, it is run by 3 joint director rank officers of Indian Information Service, fine, and they are tasked with managing the government's publicity operation also. Okay, so this is about it. I hope you have understood, and now we'll move to next article. Don't use counselling to turn LGBTQ person against their identity, says Supreme Court. Okay, now we'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice, vulnerable section of society. Social justice, vulnerable section of society. Now guys, I will not advise you to go too much in detail in this particular case, that what happened, who filed the complaint, what was the case in which Supreme Court give this judgment, but you need to understand the basic spirit of the ruling. Now see, lesbian, gays, bisexual, transgender, their sexual orientation does not aligns with the sexual orientation that society accepts as normal. So society accepts particular type of sexual orientation as normal. For example, a male should have a sexual orientation towards a female. A female should have a sexual orientation towards a male. This is something which society consider as it is a norm. Any other sexual orientation which goes different from this, they are not held as acceptable. They are not held as acceptable in the society. Now, main number of times what has happened, LGBT people, okay, what has happened main number of times, authorities and sometimes even courts have tried to counsel the LGBT people through the counselors that you actually they should go back to the socially accepted identity. Supreme Court says that this is wrong. If a person is from a transgender community and they have some different sexual orientation, you should not counsel them, because by that you are trying to persuade them against their identity. So Supreme Court, what it has done, it has cautioned the judges against using the court-ordered counseling of the people of LGBT community to turn them against their own identity and sexual orientation. For example, if a person is gay, he is being convinced that there is nothing such as homosexuality. Fine, you should not have a sexual orientation towards male, you should have towards a female. So this counseling is being given, and sometimes this counsel is being ordered by the court. So Supreme Court said that this is wrong, you should not do this because you are turning against their sexual identity. Judges must eschew the tendency to substitute their own subjective values for the values which are protected by the Constitution. Constitution respects every sexual, Constitution gives the right to equality, Constitution gives the freedom to even express your sexual orientation. So if a judge is having a particular social understanding, he should not impose it on other people. So here there's a beautiful line that is written, social morality laden with homophobic or transphobic views or any personal predilection of the judge or sympathy for the natal family must be eschewed. Now what does it mean in simple terms? Social morality. Socially we find some things as right, something as wrong. Okay, so there is a social understanding of certain things. So for example, heterosexuality, it is a social norm that we believe in. Large people believe in heterosexuality. This is a social norm. And at the same time, there is a homophobia, there is a transphobia. Okay, there is a repulsion. Okay, there is a disgust, there is a repulsion against homosexuality. When these two things couple, when these two things come together, what happen? We do these kind of things. Okay, that we will try to counsel people that homosexuality does not exist. We will show hate against them. This should not be done. Okay. And here we have this article, PM speaks to Putin, Zelenskyy calls for dialogue, diplomacy to end war. Now, full-fledged answer will not come on this, but these references can be used in your IR related answers. So guys, what has happened, Prime Minister has spoke to Russian President Putin as well as Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Fine, so Prime Minister held a telephonic discussion with both of them. Prime Minister congratulated Putin for his victory. Fine, and has called Mr. Zelenskyy, the President of Ukraine, and has assured India's commitment to do everything within its means to support a peaceful solution. Now, also Ukrainian Foreign Minister is expected to visit India this month. Now, when we talk about India, guys, India has maintained a neutral position in this Russia-Ukraine war. Neither we are supporting Russia nor we are supporting Ukraine. We say that war is bad. We resist all type of aggression, but we have not taken any position. Okay, and we want the resolution of this particular war. And in this capacity, Prime Minister has discussed with both. Fine. Now, though India has maintained a neutral position, but actually India's energy ties, trade with the Russia has continued in the same zeal. Okay, Prime Minister has a focus on people-centric approach and has called for dialogue and diplomacy. Also, since the war has started between Ukraine and Russia, neither Russian leader nor the Ukraine leader, neither the Zelenskyy, Ukrainian president and not the Putin. They have visited India. Fine. So under G20, Putin was expected to visit, but that visit did not happen. Okay. So this is something that is there. Beyond that, nothing much is there in this particular article, and I will not advise you to waste more time on this. So this is guys all about it, and already mains questions we have seen. So that is about the today's session. I hope that you have understood it. With this, we come to an end to the today's session. Guys, if you have liked, please do hit the like button. Also, please do subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Thank you so much, guys.